Welcome to the Calgary Sessions. This is episode number 47. I'm your host, Jeff Humphreys. Today's guest, him and I go back to like 2001. And when I spun up this show and it was artists, this fellow was right at the very top of my list. Scheduling, we just couldn't make it happen. But anyways, dude, I literally made the show and you were like, tick, I know an artist.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So please name and just kind of, I don't know how you want to like describe yourself in a, point form.
Okay. My name is Dewi Wood. I am a musician, a composer, a audio producer, a contributor to the arts and communications media, and immersive sound designer at this point. Also is one of my things that I put my name behind.
So yeah, I knew there was going to be a lot. I didn't know how you actually wanted to like, there's no way to put, even on your business card, you imagine like summarizing it in two things?
Yeah.
Could you?
Well, it's sound design. I think that
would be all.
Or recording artist. Sometimes I say that because recording artist kind of encapsulates so many things.
Both on the being a musician and as the...
Yeah, that's kind of what you're doing. You're recording. Yeah, things.
So because I've known you for so long, I want to like get my first Dewi memory out of my head before we get going.
Okay. Uh-oh.
So we go back. My first job out of school was at Critical Mass. Mm-hmm. This is back in the, Dewi was one of the OGs. I was there early, like employee, whatever, 130, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. We're in the cool building across from MEC, super young office. Yeah. I'm out of this 12-month program. Philippe's my boss.
Yeah, well.
And so you have this like layer of an office. Mm-hmm. It was like this bat cave that I don't know if it had like red velvet curtains or black velvet. It was like, and you had this giant desk. And this is at a time where I was like into the music scene. And I come across you, this fucking, this like musical genius behind this computer making the audio riffs for like Mercedes-Benz and all these crazy things. And I was like, who is this guy and how is he doing this?
Yeah.
So anyways, I can still picture you in the room. I can picture the couches you had. Like, I can picture it all. Yeah. And fast forward, here we are like so many years later. Yeah. The other reference that I have to tell is that anybody who knows me from CalgarySoul.com DJing, Dewi Wood did the voiceover of the girl that said, "You're listening to the sounds of Jeff Humphreys." So anyways.
We chatted about that before this, and I couldn't even, I was like, really? Did I do that? It's been so many gigs.
Was it any good? What did it sound like? What did I record that at?
Yeah, man.
So anyways, dude, you've been a huge part of my life musically, helping
Well, I'm a
out.
huge fan too, I used to come to see all your gigs and like, it's great. The music,
It's a unique friendship and you've helped me so much along the way technically and just like, just being a musical dude in the city is just, you've paved the path for a lot of people for live music. So thank you.
Yeah, man. So I was going to say, just before you do your thing, I was going to say the curtains in the studio there were red velvet.
They were.
And I still have them in my studio today. And they're used for like sound muffling and kind of dampening. And that's one of the, but at the same time, they also remind me of the Jubilee Auditorium when I was a kid, just the show's about to begin, the whole concept of that. So I've almost always had velvet curtains on my wall because when you're working by yourself all these years, you got to be cognizant of the fact you're making a show for other people. There's other people going to be there and or they're going to hear it. So I try and anyways, that's a little nugget.
The other thing I'll quiz you on right now, did you have some sort of poster behind your desk? There's some like iconic piece of art that you had behind your desk. Do you remember that?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, it might have just been came with the building.
Was it the buffalo with running with smoke behind him? Like, was that classic one? Oh yeah, that's one part of my collection. Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember actually.
All right. Well, enough of me rambling along about nothing. So the gist of the show, you've seen a couple of them.
Yeah.
This is gonna be really cool from here. I want to hear your story. I want you to go back to a point where, how you grew up, where you grew up, and then the musical inspiration, how you got into all this is going to be really cool for me to hear. So get after it, buddy.
Okay. So first of all, because of my name being so weird, that's where I have to start.
Yes.
So my name is Dewi, which is spelled Dewi, which looks like Dewey. So how did that all happen? Well, I was born in Northwest Calgary in the Grace Hospital, and on September the 25th. In fact,
It's a cloudy day.
I don't know about that. I wasn't really, but it was. And my mom's Beryl Wood, and my dad's David Wood, and my name actually, if I grab my ID out, it says David Wood. So I'm named after my father, and he's named after his father and his other. So I'm the 6th or 7th David Wood in a row.
Okay.
Yeah. So because we share the same name and the same birthday, it's kind of wild. So my mom actually lived in Wales. My mom's from England, and I lived in Wales she lived in Wales for a time when she was young, and she became fond of Welsh names. So Dewi is Welsh for David.
No way.
So that's my name. Yeah.
So, but on your driver's license it says David?
Yeah.
So when did your mom start calling you Dewi from like?
That's my name, but it's always been my name.
So you go to school elementary and they're like.
Some teachers would name David, and I'd answer to that, of course. But Dewi's my name, and that's what my sisters call. That's what my family calls me. That's my name. That's
how you're known in the city.
Yeah, that's my name.
You know Dewi? Yeah, you know Dewi?
Yeah. Actually, there's another Dewi. There's another Dewi tennis player.
No way.
Yeah. I met him at a house party once.
Random.
Yeah. His name's spelled differently though, so he's cool. Whoever he is. Yeah.
So good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good intro.
Yeah.
So born and raised Calgary.
Yes.
Yep.
Born and raised in Calgary. Then so the story. When I was in elementary school, my dad was an organist, as well as being an electrical engineer. So he's a very educated, smarty pants, and a great organ player. My mom directed choirs, helped out with community stuff. She was saving the world all the time.
Early.
Yeah. And she was an early childhood expert.
Okay.
Early childhood education expert. So, anyways,
you're around music.
Yeah, I'm around music. I'm exposed to
house?
music right away. Yeah, musical house. Always going to choir rehearsals and all that stuff. Then I joined Glee Club. They actually had a Glee Club at my elementary school.
No way.
Yeah, which is Cambridge Heights. Yeah. Mrs. Wilcox, and someone called around and said, "Do you have any boys that sing?" And I loved singing. So she said, "Yeah, I've got a couple of them." And she recommended us, and we went down to an audition at the Cathedral Church of the Redeemer. So this was a church choir. It was an Anglican church choir. The Cathedral Church of the Redeemer is right across from City Hall, right across from Olympic Plaza, that kind of sandstone building there.
Yeah.
It's an older...
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So that's
a cool building.
Yeah. It's a remarkable acoustics in there too, by the way, if you've never been in. It's an amazing place to go see a concert or something.
Cool.
Yeah. So I went down and auditioned. It was a professional gig. You actually, I don't want to brag or anything, but I was making $30 a month. Huh?
You peaked early.
Oh yeah. But at the same time, it covered bus fare and whatever,
Yep.
But it was amazing. Even though I've done all these things in my life, that's still what I put on the beginning of my resume, because the choir director there was a guy named Terrence Fullerton. And he was the keyboard player for the Calgary Philharmonic. He was the organist at the cathedral and the choir master there. And he was also the choir director for the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra choir.
So the dude.
Yeah. So quite good. And it was all, the choir was all men and boys. So we'd sing masses in Latin every Sunday, an anthem. And so it was the Anglican church service is very musical. And the actual music that's composed for the masses is written by masterful musicians, William Byrd, and great English composers from centuries ago. And so this beautiful, like we'd walk out do Gregorian chant. So it was like really early music and beautiful music that is not really performed much or ever heard, especially with men and boys at this point. So basically, you kind of have to watch the Queen's coronation or something to kind of hear the choir that we were in. And we made records with CBC, and it was incredible. So that really got me listening.
Yep.
It got my ears wrapped around blending and listening, and you just get in there and figure it out.
And were you talented? Like you're good enough to get recommended to go there, but you're just into music, and you were like bold enough to sing?
Yeah, I guess I am talented. A lot of people are talented. But I think what I was really blessed with being from Calgary is all of the great people that influenced me. So Terrence Fullerton you know, you get some people who are maybe really good, and I don't know where I was, but there's other people who are not as good. But he gets us all to, you know, to peak the way he expects you to deliver. Like a good coach, like a good whatever, like that kind of leadership role is incredible. And I've really benefited from some spectacular people in that regard.
By chance? Like, because you and I have talked so many times over the years, and whether it's me DJing at a club and we just get talking, and your history with musicians and talented people in the city is like it's mind altering. But it's almost at every turn, right? Yeah. Like it's just, this person, I learned from this person who did this. Like it's just.
Oh, it's so
it started early.
Oh yeah.
Like right out of the gate, you're like,
yeah, okay, this is how it is. Yeah. And then I was super lucky because, you know, I was already wrapping my head around this, you know, advanced music. And then I went to junior high school. So Colonel Irvin Junior High School, go Northwest. So we went to Colonel Irvin, but at the same time, there was a band teacher there named George Kupras. And he was remarkable. So the band program at my junior high school was like one of the best band programs in the country. We'd win the provincial championships. We'd win the national championships. We'd win like
no way.
Oh, like and it was really well attended too. So you had lots of people in grade 7 who were trying to learn how to play their clarinet and whatever and squeaker, you know. But then you come and see our concert halfway through. Like our Christmas concert sounded good, and our final year concert sounded like you could go. I would recommend you go
enjoy it.
Yeah, it would be really good music. So in tune, in pitch, well delivered. So again, that's another thing where of course, I gravitated to a bunch of the heavy musicians in the group, and we practiced together. And
what were you playing back then?
Played clarinet first.
Okay.
Yeah. Played clarinet for 8 years. I played clarinet all the way through to university.
Singing a little bit, or just when
singing lots with choir.
Yeah, okay.
And then I started guitar in grade 8. Yeah. That's my sister started teaching me in her bedroom, and I was like, I want to learn how to play guitar. So she started teaching me. And
cool.
My sister Roseanne started all that off. So that's awesome. Yeah.
And the clarinet, like for that long, like. Yeah,
I never really loved clarinet. That was the thing. Like I always wanted to play the trumpet. Like that's what when I was growing up, I always wanted to play the trumpet. And I picked the wrong numbers. George Kupras, when he was selecting his band, he always had an idea of how many. He had a good arrangement of how many tubas he needed, how many low brass, how many this, how many. So it wasn't just everyone picked their own instrument.
Yep.
Slam them together. He needs 15 trumpets and all this many flutes. That it'll be a balanced sounding orchestra.
Yep.
Woodwind group. So I picked the wrong number for trumpet, and then I picked the wrong number for this, and then I picked the wrong number for sax, and then I picked the wrong. I was one of the last 2 people. Like, I get clarinet. Like, but it was good.
Still loved it though. Like,
I learned. I got pretty good at it. I got lessons, and my mom took me to clarinet lessons, and I never really practiced that much. But I got to Mozart clarinet concerto level, and like I got. There's some beautiful music written for clarinet, and it's a beautiful sound. It's So I like it.
It's so random. It's so random when you think when I fast forward all these years now, and I've seen you like do your thing. I'm like, the fucking clarinet.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's almost what drove me. I wanted to play the jazz band they had in junior high was excellent, and I wanted to be part of that.
So like a spin-off from band class.
Yeah. So you have concert band, and then you have they have jazz band, and they were excellent, and I just wanted to be part of that. And then so I couldn't play any other instruments, so I thought, can I play guitar? And I asked the George Kupras, and I said, can I play guitar? He said, sure. So that's what I did, and I just started learning myself and self-taught at guitar, and just jumped in and started to try and figure out what all these chord things mean.
You're getting like hand cramps trying to like put these.
Oh yeah, I literally the Bryan Adams song "Play it till your fingers bled." Like that was me. Like no one had to tell me to go practice.
Was music like all encompassing for you at a young age?
Oh yeah, like that wasn't all encompassing. I love lots of stuff, you know, but. Oh yeah, it didn't. Yeah, then I connected with lots of people, like at an early age too.
You're clicking with these.
Yeah, there was people around my neighborhood that were excellent, and there was Randall Stahl, who was a great world-class drummer. The Stahl brothers, Richard Harding's an unbelievable saxophone player, still a great professional in the city. He went to my junior high school and was just ahead of me in years. there was a whole bunch of, and then Andy Erickson, I'll talk about him quite a bit, probably through this whole thing, because he ended up living at my parents' house. We built a studio together, and I learned a lot from hanging out with Andy. And he, anyone who knows anything about drums in Calgary knows Andy Erickson's. He's one of the guys for sure, if not the guy. It's
your circle, like the crew that you grew up with, and you were surrounded like right in your, like it's just, it's bizarre.
Oh, it's great. Actually, honestly, like again, like reflecting on, I really welcome this opportunity to be able to talk about Calgary, because it's where I'm from, and I've been given so many opportunities here, and there's so many incredible people here, and I think sometimes you get a little bit slighted by other communities, or we're not Vancouver, or we're not this or that, or whatever. But I always say, come to Calgary. I'll let me take you around. I'll introduce you to the people I know. I think we punch way above our weight in all the things that you're talking to people about, entrepreneurship and in arts. Like there's some amazing people here, very inspirational.
And the good ones are they don't need to tell anybody. They just go about their business and just kind of they're like just good community people, which is that's the difference between other cities. I think, right? They're a little like.
I think hopefully when someone tries to get really good at something, you've also had the opportunity to shed a few layers of ego, because that's what some people can still. There's different motivations for different people,
for sure.
But hopefully people can. I think a lot of people who are really, really good at things they don't really. Yeah,
they don't need to say anything.
They don't say anything.
So take me out of junior high. What are you up to?
Then in high school, I had another great band program, of course, because one school fed into the, so I went to James Fowler High School. One school fed into the next one, and that was also an excellent band program. We won the national competition for jazz band in Toronto in whatever year that was.
Still clarinet still?
No, this is guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, guitar. Right. This is jazz band. Yeah. So that was that, and got selected with a bunch of, there's the whole rhythm section from my high school, and one trumpet player got selected to be the rhythm section for the National All-Star Band. So we got to play with Diana Krall was on keyboards, Phil Dwyer. Like there was like really great Canadian jazz musicians. Yeah, that were early on.
And you're comfortable? You were like at home, like it felt like
we were all just kids. Everyone else got to go downtown Toronto, and we had to rehearse. So because we were on a special TV show, so it's kind of like, I wanted to go to Toronto. I've never been to Toronto. All I got to see was this hotel. Anyway, but I've been back since, and I left Toronto. So that's cool.
So high school, are you all like music focused, or what are you doing?
Like
school, are you like whatever?
Oh, I love, actually the school I went to was super crazy, nutty, wacky, crazy, overpopulated when I went there. So they had not built a school in Northeast Calgary, a high school in Northeast Calgary yet. Okay. So there was like 4,000 people or something. There was like 28, 30, I don't know, buses for kilometers. There was changes in the classroom where you'd have to walk through like holding your books tight, because it was just like the busiest concert. It was like,
no way.
Yeah, it was
get ready for the clubs.
Well, for sure. I'm sure there's beyond any fire regulation guy walked in there, the place would have been shut down in 2 seconds. But anyways, that was high school. But the good thing that came from that is there's tons of ethnic communities there. There was tons of music. There was punkers, freakers, partiers, there was rappers, there was break dancers, there was artists, there was everything.
What were you listening to back then?
Oh,
were you
everything?
Everything?
Yeah,
like from all those different.
Yeah, I've always listened to just about everything. Yeah. So I mean, I was already wrapped my head around classical music when I was very young, and choir music and all that stuff. But then you get into jazz band, and the bells go off for jazz music, and you start checking all these heavy players, and then. Then I still, when I was young, I loved the first T-shirt I ever bought. This is a good story. The first T-shirt I ever bought was at North Hill Mall. I saved up whatever it was, $5 for an iron-on shirt. They had a place called the Shirt Shack.
Jeez.
Yeah, this would be way back. And I went up and gave him my $5, and that's the one I wanted. And it says Disco Kid. on a black shirt, and it had kind of sparkly letters. Yeah, because I mean, even when I was young, I loved disco. Like people were always like, "Disco sucks, disco," But I loved it. I loved the dance beat. I loved it. I still love disco for sure.
So everything you were.
Oh yeah,
everything. And what is it? Was it? Why are we so open to it?
Oh.
Like even when like
I think that's just the way. I think the household that I was raised in is very non-judgmental, very culturally inquisitive. Very. That's a good question actually. Like how do you just keep your head? Yeah, I think I was raised in a family of CBC listeners, well-educated, well-read people that were just always exploring new ideas. So that just I've never really thought about that before, but that just seems to be. That's just normal for how I was raised, basically. As long
as you does it have to move you to be into it? You got to feel something to be into it.
Well, for sure, of course. But at the same time, there's so many. I mean, music and sound in general, and all of those things. It really it influences your mood automatically. So there's so many different places you can go. So. Sometimes when I'm talking about sound design and all that stuff, and I've lectured at university, I've taught at Mount Royal and different things, and I always talk I always start off this little shtick that I have, and I say, well, I know I look like when you look at me, you think, that's a tough guy, right? Oh yeah, like I come across like a tough guy. Yeah, exactly, get my first laugh there.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. And then I get into it, and I say, one thing I've learned from because scary movies. I don't like scary movies because they scare me. I'm a little sensitive in ways. So one thing I've learned, if me and you were at a show, like I might just kind of like if you're sitting on this side, I might just be sitting like this, or if you're on this side, I might be sitting. Because what I learned is that I'll just hopefully not obviously, but I'll just plug one ear, and then I realized like if you plug your ears, it's not scary anymore. So if you turn down the sound of a scary movie, it's no longer you can watch like the different senses. You take different information in from them, and sound really, and this is kind of back to music in general, but there's so many different ways you can make people feel with sound, and sound is like the matrix, it's like it's a direct line into your emotional states. Yep. And so kind of bouncing around a little bit with my ideas here, but I think if you do a soundtrack for something really well, no one will even notice it. Yeah. But you've actually influenced all of the pictures and the whole mood of something greater than most people can even imagine. And you're able to, we won't go there just yet, but like your appreciation for all types of music. Yeah. Then you can you can craft whatever sound you need based on whatever medium or whatever end goal is, right? That's exactly it. And I think also, just because of my pursuit of that being my profession, it led me to so many places I never would have even imagined. Like I couldn't have gone, I'm going to write a flamenco New York piece. I'm going to write a piece for tap dancers. Like I'm going to write a piece. Like there's so many different ways that things go. I mean, commercial work, pictures, plays, theater. Yeah.
Even the live stuff though, right?
Yeah. And then live stuff too. Yeah. That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
The different bands you've been it's every time I hear you, it's like, oh, it's a different style of music. I'm like, I thought he was doing, it's just always different. Like you can kind of do whatever you put your mind to, right? Yeah.
I think I'm not a master of anything, but I kind of jack of all trades maybe or something. Yeah. Potentially. Yeah.
So you're coming out of high school?
Coming out of high school, then a guy named Warren Rowley, who's another, awesome guy to run into when you're 17 years old. Me and Andy were still in high school, and we got asked to play in the University of Calgary Red Band, which was the jazz band at the University of Calgary. So they wanted to have some feeder musicians that were younger and playing with good feel and time and whatever, or could read or whatever it was. Basically, they thought we were good. And so we got that opportunity. So we were playing in the jazz bands at the University of Calgary when I was still in high school. So that was awesome.
Along the way, or these early years, did you actually like spin up your own band? Or were you just kind of working with these different like schools and groups and
Yeah, I think I played different things.
Like,
there's no band.
Like the cliche, I started a band when I was in grade 10 and we played in my dad's garage.
Oh yeah, we did the talent shows and we'd rehearse up and we'd do something for a talent show and I'd sing, David Bowie or something and we'd kind of go off. but never anything that was like trying to be
you weren't
popular. We actually, it's kind of like when I think about it, like I've never really played for people my own age. When I was young, I played for older people who were appreciating music.
And like sophisticated ears.
Yeah. But that's cool. I mean, it's great. Any audience is great. But I missed. We never played at the Republic. We never played all the.
You were like. Yeah. You were like heady. You were like in a different.
I don't know. We were gigging musicians. We were doing it for a living. Yeah. Partly, so you just kind of play where there's gigs and you do the kind of music that people would appreciate there or whatever.
So university, you're playing in the Red Band?
Yeah. So that was great. We made a couple of records with people, got connected with a whole bunch of great musicians there. That was excellent. And actually at the same time, I met up with a guy named Niall O'Rourke, who's a major, awesome influence also, good friend, Niall. So we were all young and he was a media genius. Like back then he's gone on to an amazing career. So he got me rigged into CJSW. Okay. So I went there and I got a morning show. So
you did?
So I did a show and I was on the executive even 1 year, I think.
What was the show? What kind of music were you playing on the show?
At first I was doing early morning jazz show on Tuesdays or something. And so it was like 6 o'clock in the morning or something. We'd walk across the field trying to get in the door with a bunch of records freezing your butt off.
12-inch, right? You got Milk Crate, whatever the hell you're dragging in there.
This is before CDs, Jeff.
What?
I have vinyl? What? Yeah.
So you're curating your own show.
Yeah.
And are you buying your vinyl just around Calgary based on?
Everywhere I go, I'm buying vinyl and I'm going to the libraries and taking all stuff. I used it as a study. Because I didn't really know enough to be a jazz host.
Yep.
But I used it to learn stuff. And sometimes a guy named Dick Cowie, who's an excellent, who's in everyone who knows jazz music in Calgary is having a smile right now because everyone knows Dick Cowie. He's a legend. He'd call me up and tell me you mispronounced that guy's name. I'm like, okay, thanks.
No way.
So there's guys listening, but I used it and it exposed me to lots more music. Like it was just, I'd grab boxes of those milk crates, I guess, like the old days. And I'd grab milk crates of records and go through them and see what I liked. And I liked Dexter Gordon in the morning. I liked Chet Baker in the morning. I liked kind of cool stuff, but it was really great. And then I worked there and I also did interviews with a bunch of people too, because Niall was such a media genius, like I say. He had a show called Excursions on Friday mornings. And he was interviewing people. So I'd drive around different people in my great, super sketchy $100 car. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was anyway, but they were good enough to get in the car and I'd drive them to interviews because Niall didn't have a car. And so he turned me on to doing interviews. Okay. So I interviewed a whole bunch these names may not, but these are legendary jazz people. Joe Zawinul interviewed, John Schofield, Pat Metheny, Lyle Mays. Who else? Anyway,
just like local.
Locals? Oh no, these are all
these are like people.
Oh yeah, these are people played with Miles Davis.
Okay, way different. Yeah. Did they come to the city?
Brantford Marcellus was one. Brantford
face to face.
Some of them were calls.
Okay, so in the middle of your show.
No, we'd interview them. Okay, we'd record it, pre-record it,
and then release them where?
On CJSW, and then in Vox magazine they'd go in print.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that was I learned a lot from that because it was like when I was done high school, I realized I don't have to write anymore. Like I could lose my writing chops. Not that they're great, but if you don't ever write, if you don't ever have a reason to prepare an interview, and all that stuff, it's like to do the research and get into it and all that. It's really good for your mind. So even though I was interviewing all these people, I wasn't just saying, do you like to experiment with harmony? I'd read everything, and this is before Google. So I'd go to libraries and take out magazines and read up. So I knew just about every answer to every question before I asked it, because when you're prepared for an interview, that's how you do it, right?
What did you like when you're interviewing these people, like these people that you look up to and you get access to them.
Like world class.
Yeah.
Yeah. The names I just dropped are like.
So what are you thinking when you're going through this?
Oh.
Are you comfortable? Are you nervous? You like.
I'm nervous a little bit for sure. Yeah. At the same time, when I look back at it, I feel honored. And I feel like if I jump in my current pants.
Same size, right?
yeah, right. If I jump in my, from my perspective, I guess I should say, looking back, we were just kids. Like, how old are you? Like 20 years old, 21, 20, like you just, when you know. Mm-hmm. So these people were very generous to give us their time and hopefully we rose up and gave them good interviews, you know. Mm-hmm. But that was great. And actually what I learned from that too is that you can reach anyone. That's what I really took from that is if you want to talk to someone, you can just call them. Like especially if they've got something to promote, you can just call them up and set up an interview. Like no problem. Yeah.
Cool.
So it was pretty good. Yeah.
So CJSW, you're there for a while.
Just for a few years.
Are you working like?
Oh yeah, I'm working in restaurants. I'm working on Electric Avenue, busing tables, restaurant work. Yeah. Oh yeah. Brother Brad Rourke hooked me up with a job down at Claudio's.
No way.
And then we went to, and then eventually I worked in the service industry quite a bit for a bunch of years.
And what'd you think of the club life then?
Oh, I was young. It was fun.
Music driven places. Yeah. People dancing. And
Like
it felt like.
Oh, that's just the way it is, for sure. In fact, it's kind of like I would go dancing now more if I knew where to go dancing now all the time. But I don't know. I mean, I should be talking to you. You're the man.
Not retired.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think dancing, staying up all night and dancing is an ancient thing. Mm-hmm. I even got into raving, in my mid to late 30s. Like I used to go, there'd be young people going like, "What? Yeah, wow, that's cool. You're here." And I'm like, "Yeah, man. You make sure you're doing it when you're our age." Yeah, but I mean, I love dancing. I love, all that.
Because the clubs are such a, like I said, the music driven, and all sorts of music and all sorts of, and watching the room's energy and like my musical experience is nothing compared to yours, but just when you're in those environments and you see how rooms.
The flow, the energy.
How to take people in different ways. You learn a lot by just being in these clubs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you're observing things, you can especially when you have a perspective of a creative person that has elements of backstage is always what I call it. Like
you're looking at the production. You're thinking like how, why.
When we're done this, I'm going to check out your cameras and check out how you lit it and it's, and I like that part of it. I've always had that perspective because I've been blessed with what I do. I'm on the creative side, so I think that spins your attention to. You can go to a club and just have fun. Most people probably do, but when you're thinking from a different perspective, then you're like what even I remember. I was already into electronic music at that age too, we can go back to that a little bit, but I'm at that point I'd say, it's a 707 snare on this note. Like I knew every drum that was playing on every instrument. I could name, what drum machine was playing on every track because we already had them. We literally had them in our house. which
is very to be able to do that, to know exactly how these things are put together.
Yeah.
Did you study that or was it just being around it? Like, it's really different. Yeah,
I'll talk about that. I grew up with Andy Erickson, this drummer guy. He was a real good friend, and then he ended up living at our house for a while. So we set up a studio together in the basement, and he had a drum studio. And
what were you recording like for who?
We were recording ourselves. We were just young, so we didn't really have any.
There's no real
we weren't recording bands, and we weren't recording. And then we eventually kind of got into more stuff.
Okay.
But anyways, Andy specifically, I call him like he's a mad scientist. That's kind of how I describe him. He's got an alternative lifestyle for sure, and he's amazing at drums, like world class. So he also, as much as he's great at drums, he's also very into high tech stuff. He's an early adopter, you would call him. he buys everything technology-wise, and he's very interested in the newest, best thing, always. So to meet a guy like that who was totally had to have the newest drum, this new drum machine's coming out. Like, so he had the first one of just about everything.
Really?
And like, I can't express that enough. Oh yeah, like big major acts would come to Calgary with their SDS7, and he had the same drum brain. Like that was still in our basement. Like we had like the advanced gear, and also we were so motivated, I guess, so obsessed with all of this that that's all my money went to. Like it was just I was investing in what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy and I would buy equipment and put it together. So I'd have an S1000, he'd have an MPC60, we'd have this, and we kind of put it together so we'd have a suite. So we could actually do, work together.
Yep. What are you making? Stuff. Like recordings with yourselves, and would you do anything with them?
Yeah, we'd experiment with stuff like
and send them out?
No, not so much.
Just like practicing with yourself?
Yeah. Just practicing. Actually, there's one point. Actually, this is kind of an interesting story. I don't know where this happens, but it was definitely in the same suite in my parents' house. We
got all your like fancy gear.
Yeah. We got all my fancy gear, and actually at one point I was kind of like I was doing pretty good at music already, and I had some aptitude and whatever. So I was a little bit like I know what good music is, and whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'd kind of like that's so I could do that. I just don't feel like it. Kind of that guy, young and stupid. Anyway, so that's a period I went through. But at the same time, there was an album that came out during this period. I don't know. It was a Michael Jackson record, and I'm not like. Let me say for the record, I'm not a big Mike. I'm not a huge. I don't even know the name of the record. The song was "Remember the Time."
Oh yeah,
yeah. So that's the song. And all I knew was that it was produced with at this point, he's already heavy dude. Yep. He's like bajillionaire and all that. So he's got the top producers in the world are working on his next records. Mm-hmm. So I knew there was something I'd read. There's something like 50 mixes to this one song. So they'd done 50 mixes. They'd had all the top guys. Like, okay. So I checked out this tune and I was like, okay, that's going to be the one. And I took it as a study. So this would be the super old. This is on CDs now, so we're up to CD stage.
Yeah, so we're moving.
We're past cassettes and stuff, and so we're moving really quick here. So I press play on my CD player and play on the MPC60, and because this is now sequenced music, so it's got a tempo that's regimented, so it's played to a click track, so it's all played to the computer, of sorts. When you press play on both of them, the music would stay in sync. So you didn't have computers with hard drives and stuff like that. Yep. Like this was all super early. So really at this point you're using an MPC60 drum machine. You're using different keyboards to make different sounds and samplers, and they're all connected by a system called MIDI, which stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. So you've got different cables connecting all these different pieces of equipment up, and this one's being the brain, and it's playing all these different instruments. So it's kind of like a glorified player's piano effect.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we were doing. And anyways, the long and the short of it, I took the song and I wanted to make it exactly. So then I'd have to read the manual and figure out like how because the snare drum's the right snare drum, but it's like tick, 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 and really it's like duh, duh, duh on the recording. Mm-hmm. So I have to like figure out how to tick, 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 and I can tune it. Then I can do this. Then I can open up the envelopes. Then I can do this. And then all these different factors. Then you start to get inside all this equipment. And like you can have a drum machine and play with it. But if you get inside underneath all of the equipment, then you can open up a lot of parameters that you can change. And there's a whole world opened up to me.
Is this like the first moment where you're starting to like deconstruct things and use tech and gear to...
Yeah, that was. I mean, when you're learning how to play guitar in your bedroom, you're always practicing and learning you press play, stop, press play. That's how you learn everything. Yep. That's how everyone learns everything. Like you learn by mimicking. Mm-hmm. That's how we learn how to speak. That's how we learn just about everything.
Yep.
So I'd already gone through a whole bunch of that stuff. Of course, that's how your whole education's going. But this was the first time. Maybe I call it my bowl of fruit because. I'm not a visual artist, but I love visual arts. I love all arts, but a painter, that they often have a bowl of fruit, And that's an exercise that they may have to do, and they get the shading and the lighting and all that stuff.
Yep.
And you can see some people, you go around ACAD and you see everyone put up their bowl of fruit and you go like, yeah, oh, awesome. Yeah, no, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So you can automatically kind of pick out. So, but the exercise is still good. And if you continue on practicing, you will be able to one day make a great bowl of fruit. Happen, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of what I did. So I got into it. Again, it wasn't my favorite song, it wasn't my favorite artist, but I got into it I think I was in like 300, 400 hours.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, you were like...
Yeah. So I discovered things like the kick drum pitch, the do, 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 the kick drum. It was tuned to the key of the song. And I was like, oh, like no one ever tells you that in any class.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, oh, I get it. Like this is how you like. It's all very easy to say, oh, I could make a big hit song, but it's like really, what do you have to know to be able to actually do some of these things? So it opened up my eyes to a lot of different production capabilities, and that was through me and Andy having the studio equipment that was together and so on.
You're investing in it.
You're
building
That's
this
all
studio.
of my life. Yeah. It goes that actually goes all the way through to my 30s. Like, I had $200 cars, like $1,000 cars, and I could basically move in my car. Like I didn't own a bed, I didn't own a couch, but I had like at one point when I joined Critical Mass, and this is another story, but I think I had like I had to for TED I had to actually evaluate all my gear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had like 60, 70, 80 grand worth of gear. And I didn't even have
probably no insurance.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, I probably did, I think. But yeah, it was like, and really, this is like, I don't even know how I did that. I honestly have no idea because I wasn't making good money. Like I was so focused on one thing that was everything.
What was it? What was that, those moments that you were driving? Like what would be all in on? What were you going after? Besides deconstructing MJ, like that's kind of a side story because it's kind of one of the things that helped teach me, how deep the rabbit hole goes. Yep. And put me in my place, like kind of for what different people, how real producers really think, and gave me much more respect for all that. So that was, that was good. What were you going after? Like trying to perfect something, your craft, or what is it?
Actually, here's another story. I got lots of stories. Oh, man. It's story time. Actually, another story that happens with Niall and CJSW period. So we'll go back to there. He was doing a radio show called 10 Audio Minds, and he asked me. He commissioned me, his buddy, to make a soundtrack for the show.
No way.
So I was like, oh, wow. I think, maybe it was like $150 or $200 or whatever. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So I got to write the theme music. So I went home and started doing it one day and looked at my watch. Oh my God, it's 1:00 in the morning? Like, I had no idea. Like I had the time, like everyone's been in the zone and lost track of time. Yep. But this was such an extreme example of it. I was like, oh, I found my thing. I found it. Like this is like, or it found me or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's when I realized that there's like I was already into music and doing all that stuff, but there's a combination where the electronics, the composition, the tweaking, that frame of mind, the listening and reacting to things, that really opened up my eyes to that was my thing because I was totally without time when I did it. Yep. And I thought, oh, this is it. Like, how do I sit in this chair now? How do I stay in this chair? Because this is the chair I want to be in. Because, the old saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life kind of thing. So
did you, and back then, were there any examples of jobs out there that were like that?
You know what? I was so naive to all of this, and I was so self-taught that
just like
I was so obsessed that that's another thing why when I began the whole conversation here, why I go through all these different things that I do. It wasn't because I wanted to be all those things. It was because I didn't know that everyone else didn't do all those things.
Right. Yeah, there's somebody out there. There's like a team of four that did these things.
Like you don't have to be the musician and the engineer. Oh wow, I didn't even know that. Because I was doing my own thing all the time. So So I wasn't really after a specific job, but at a certain point, I did look at commercial work because I thought because I was in some pretty expensive equipment at that point.
Yep.
So I had to find a way to kind of pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
So this was an intense habit. So I couldn't. I couldn't just make cassettes and do whatever. I needed to kind of get paid.
Yep.
So I kind of thrust myself towards what I perceived as being one of the best, ways you can get paid for my habit.
So like writing the intro, whatever, for a commercial of some sort or whatever.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I made a duotangs. I had a little company sticker on them, and I made them all smart, and I printed them off all nice.
What was the company called?
Toontown Productions.
Awesome.
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where would you go?
I went to a bunch of advertising companies. I just went in and dropped them off. Like I just looked them up in the phone book and went there. I had no idea. Like I had no guidance. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it. And
could they hear anything?
yeah, there's a cassette in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Demos.
And how'd it go? Did you like land anything? Like this must.
I think I got a co-op thing.
But it must have been early days, right?
And then I started working with a white iron at a certain point, and different companies that ended up giving me a break. And so.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I got to know some people who were in advertising, and they'd give me a job, and I'd try it, and it would go, and that just built and built and built. So I ended up doing a lot of communication stuff for sure.
Did you run your company for years?
Yeah.
And then off to the side, are you still gigging? What are you doing?
For sure, always, yeah.
And what's the gigging look like back then?
I played in a party band called Penguins on Broadway. Still do.
That's the last time I saw you live. Was at Mickey's.
Yeah. So that's fun. That's a big party band. We were kind of having fun about town. Now we just do 1 or 2 gigs a year and just laugh at each other.
But it's been around for a long. That group, that band has been.
The band was formed in 1987 or something. Before I was in it, they've been playing for a long time.
Crazy.
Yeah, but they're great guys. Actually, I had a rehearsal with them yesterday. So.
No way.
Yeah.
So
they're awesome.
So you're doing lots of live stuff.
Yeah.
And how do you explain is it audio engineering? Is it like, how do you explain the idea of working with the commercial side of things? How do you phrase that exactly? Essentially, you're making the music for all the marketing materials.
I don't do that as much anymore. But at one point, because there's such a amazing amount of music that people can just pick from that's cheap, and you can just so there's not as much work.
But back in the day, though, that duotang idea. That's what you were selling, right?
Yeah.
It was that idea.
Yeah. It was it wasn't jingles.
No,
but I never, because jingles are kind of like by Menon, or that kind of like a little. But I never really considered myself to be a jingle person. But soundtracks is what I've always called them. I don't really know what to call them because I never went to school for any of it.
Nobody told me anything. Just me here doing all these things.
I'm just making all this up.
I got 2 hands. I got 2 feet.
Yeah. So anyways, I ended up playing it. I had another notable place. I ended up playing and working as a when I was young, just before we kind of skip by that. I ended up playing at a place called Cover to Cover, and I worked there. And that was an amazing club. There was Sparky's down the street, which is an amazing club too, live music club.
Okay.
And Cover to Cover. And I ended up working at Cover to Cover. So I was bartending lunches, doing sound, playing in the house band there.
Okay.
Other people who played there all the time were Jan Arden, a whole bunch of James Keelahan, Oscar Lopez. It was an amazing place to be. For great music in Calgary of all genres. So that was really fun. Yeah.
You were like in it. You were like...
Yeah.
And at early age, you were traveling at these unique spots, right? Like it was like music forward.
Oh, yeah, that's just what everyone's... Yeah, it was just what drove everything for sure.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So after the duotangs go out, you're gigging, now where are you going?
Then... I ended up going I went to university in music. So I started studying music there.
I was like, what the fuck are you going to take at university?
I started studying music there. I was going to be a music ed. I wanted to be a music teacher.
Okay.
So shout out to teachers, by the way, because I think they're incredible people. And and I benefited so much from teachers and people bringing out the best in me.
Yep.
They were good teachers. There's a lot of, I didn't love school, but the good teachers that stood out, really amazing.
You remember them?
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to be. I thought I could be one of them. So I went to university, and First year, second year, I met a guy, Ravi Palaya.
Ravi.
Yeah, it's a brother Ravi. And so we connected, and he came to my studio, and he's totally like, bing, ding, ding. Yeah. So that was good. Then that same time, this is an interesting, now we're onto a little thread here. Okay. Then I did, Randall Stahl, drummer, recommended that I go check out this dance company at the University of Calgary. It's called Decidedly Jazz Dance Works. I was like, okay. He says, it's amazing. They dance, and it looks exactly like what the music sounds like. It's incredible. I was like, oh, okay. So I went to check it out. And he was right. It was amazing. So I don't know how it worked. I saw them, and then I think I did a gig with Lorna McLaughlin. Was the first time, a great composer in Calgary and great musician. She hired me to be her guitar player, and I played in a DJD show, and I got introduced to them for this. I think that's how it started. Then I ended up doing a bunch of shows with them, and I played guitar with a guy named Big Miller. So that was a Big Miller show they did, and that was a great show. Anyways, my mind's a flood at this point. So I did about 6 or 7 shows with DJD.
Yep.
And at one point, Vicky had me down. Vicky Adams Willis, the artistic director of Decidedly Jazz Dance Works, who I owe a lot to. She asked me down for coffee. So we went down to the Roastery, which is right where they're near where they're classic Calgary. Yeah, Kensington. So we went there, and we went and grabbed a coffee. We sat in front of their old dance studio, which was down on 10th Street at the time. And she asked me to be music director for a show called Rhythm Addiction, that she was making the show. And I was like, whoa, really? Like, she wanted me to write all the music and do all the whole, and I was like, wow, okay, this is like, we're in the big leagues now. They did proper shows in theaters and the whole thing,
Were you comfortable with the idea?
Or
did you feel like, like this is a step?
Oh, for sure. Like everything's, all of it's out of your, like being out of your comfort zone is important. I think I've learned now that when you're out of your comfort zone, it's either because you're learning something new, or you could be learning something new. So if you're out of your comfort zone all the time, you're feeling like distressed, then just stop and go, okay, what could I be learning? Like, maybe I shouldn't be here, or maybe I should leave, or maybe I should try something, whatever. Yeah. Or I actually got advice from a great world-class musician also named Tommy Banks. When I was probably in the high school age with Andy Erickson, we used to get adjudicated by these great musicians. Senator Tommy Banks from Edmonton is a great musician. Like everyone who knows who I'm talking about knows. He's a great. And he gave us both advice. We were young. We were probably 17 years old. And he said, the best way to do things is get the gig and then figure out how to do it. And I was like, okay. And that's I actually really, Andy and I both, I think, and especially for myself, I think I really took that to heart. That, you just have to say yes and then figure it out and then go hard all night, stay up 24 hours, learn how to do it. You're only learning when you're trying something new, kind of thing, or you're exploring new ideas. So that was real. I was such a hungry mind when I was young. That was really important. That was a really important lesson that I got given by Tommy. He's such a respectable man that it kind of had impact too, because of who was talking to us. It was like, okay, wow, okay, got that. Thanks, man.
So then Vicky asked you to do it, and you're like, okay, I got it. Well, I'm saying yes because I'm going.
Yeah. Here we go. So Ravi became my partner in crime, and we worked on this whole show. Then we produced all the music and made tracks for everything. So there's only 3 musicians on the stage, and we were covering music from India, Africa, flamenco from Spain, tap dancing from New York, and there's different choreographers from around the world that were working with us also. Yep. And we do kind of Indian classical music, and then we do a kind of Western derivative of it, and then we do like authentic flamenco music, and then we do a Western derivative of it. So the concept was rhythm addiction, patterns of our mother's hearts. So it's like basically it came from the cultural derivatives that are very important parts of people's cultures musically, and then how it kind of gets interpreted in a modern context. So we made this. We worked I worked 18 hours a day for
Yep.
2 years or something, or a year, I guess. That was like, I've done that a few times in my life. Yeah.
Going crazy.
Yeah.
The Dowie all in.
Yeah, all in. Let's do this. Yeah. So it definitely wasn't for the money. It was definitely for the passion of it. And so we jumped in, and just before it opened, I was like nervous. I was like, "Oh, is it too milli vanilli?" Because some of the parts were pre-recorded, and we're playing along with it.
Yep.
Like
You're playing everything.
yeah, we're playing live
And
too.
Ravi's there too?
Ravi and Andy's on stage too.
Oh, so it was like the Amigos.
Yeah, so we did that, and it ended up like breaking box office records.
No
ATP.
way.
Yeah, it was like, I remember there was a place I had to sneak in because we came out of the audience, so I had to sneak in the back door. You know, when the lights are down and when the show's in black and we're just about to start, and I cue the whistle and I'd sneak in the door, and we did this a bunch of nights in a row, and then I sneak in one day and there's someone standing beside me, and I'm like. Like, what the heck? People were paying full price and standing at the back. Like, it went really good.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How many shows a week?
I don't know.
Like you playing like 2 or 3 times?
Oh, we do. Well, it's not a week. We probably do a run of like 2 weeks or something like that. I don't really
playing
remember.
a lot.
Yeah. So you're playing a nightly show. Like it's like a theater, like at 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. or something. You do a show.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was what it was. And it got really great reviews, and it went really well.
Yep.
So we ended up doing it again a couple of years later, and we sold out Jack Singer Concert Hall like 3 nights in a row, something like that. Like sold out Jack Singer Concert Hall. Like, wow. Yeah. And then we had a big band. We had a full band playing that time, and it was a lot better. Yeah. It was
way
awesome.
different.
Yeah, it was way different. And we toured Western Canada with that show also.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So that was cool. So that was great. And so that's a big pivotal story. But then what came of that, you may ask?
What?
Well, let me tell you. Let me have a little sip.
And are these moments where you're like, these are big.
Check this next part out. Oh, yeah. So then I got off, at the end of that show, I got offered, I had an incredible day. I've been struggling and working, and, you know, I'm doing all this with no money and paying all my money for gear and blah, blah, blah.
Doing your thing.
Do my thing. Live my life. But after that, I got offered, I had one day that was just like unbelievable. So I had, I got offered to be a composer in residence at Alberta Theatre Projects. That was, who's the great man? He was the director of, I know him, but I can't think of his name.
You'll get him.
Anyways, he asked me to do that, and I was like, wow, awesome. And I went to and then I was walking down the street, and Neil McGonigal, who is Jan Arden's original manager, asked me to like maybe play guitar and some stuff, and I was like, holy, like, okay. And then I left that, and I went to another meeting that someone had called me up to go down to this CD-ROM company, which was down McLeod Trail. So I went there and met up with a group of people there, and they were making CD-ROMs. It was called Full Guard CD Visions.
Okay.
And there was a guy there by the name of Michel Clareau. So that's a name drop for those who know who I'm talking about. So and of all these different opportunities that just popped out of nowhere, like my head was spinning. Then I took the one that was the CD-ROM thing. I thought that made the most sense. That kind of resonated with me the most. So off I go to take my computer down to this place down by McLeod Trail, and we had an office there, and I was an employee and so on. And stock options and all this stuff, like crazy, like totally not unlike everything else in my life till that point. Anyway, and I worked with Michel Clareau, and we made a CD-ROM called The Lost Treasures of the World, which was voted by Encarta to be one of the top CD-ROMs in the world, and PC World magazine, which was a big, early computer days stuff. So yeah, we were making really high quality products. And then and I worked there for several years, and we worked like crazy people possessed. Michelle and I were like, we were brothers.
It's a common theme for you, by the way.
Yeah. So then we eventually we stopped all that, and then the next topic that comes in for the next CD-ROM, maybe we've done a couple at this point, is golf instruction. So imagine how thrilled I was. Wow, I get to record 30 hours of golf instruction? Where do I sign up? Yeah. So anyway, so this guy comes in. Hey, Dowie, what the? Come over in here. Like, what the? I'm like, who does this guy think he is? Like, holy, he's calling me into the next room, and he's boisterous and super energized and alpha male, like super intense entrepreneur guy.
Yep.
So enters Ted Hellard. So he's in charge of the content and so on.
Okay.
So that's how that started. Long story.
Yep.
That I can't even really talk about all the stuff that happened there, but it became quite dysfunctional, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So cue to years later, Ted used that exact product that we made there called the Lesson Tee, and that's what won the Mercedes-Benz business for Critical Mass, which became, so that was basically the inception point.
That was it.
Yeah. So Michelle and I connecting and some other people, Ben O'Masonori, and then the Light brothers came in after that, of course, and Philippe is Michelle's brother, and there was a bunch of key people that was the inception point of Critical Mass, which became a big thing, right?
Monster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there forever.
Yeah,
forever. You were there for a big chunk of time.
I was there before it even. So that's the thing. Like I was there like 4 or 5 years preceding that, in some context or another.
Yep.
They had their own office and stuff. They had an office in DeVry, and anyway, there's lots I could tell about all that stuff for sure. I could go down a whole rabbit hole of Critical Mass conversations for sure. But that was a great. I mean, again, that was Michelle Clairot. Was making all of the posters for Decidedly Jazz Dance Works.
No way.
Yeah. So that's how. So he saw the show, and then he thought, "Oh, okay, let's get together with this guy."
Yep.
And that's how. So Vicki Adams Willis is part of the chain that makes Critical Mass. Like that was part of the inception point. So you never know who you're going to meet and what's happening and what it can become. Like you plant seeds, and it's incredible what can grow out of these things.
And still to this day that happens, right?
Yeah.
Like just the connections of all these years. Like it's just like what is it? Like why do you think that's even possible?
I think that's nature. I love science too. And I love physics, and I love biology, and I love reading about that stuff. I'm not educated enough to be able to do the math and figure it all out and memorize the charts and stuff, but I love it. And I think that is really what nature is. I mean, really, when you think when my mind's almost a flood of thinking, like what comes from seeds? Well, everything. What comes from the original DNA, like life.
But what's interesting is your entire story is like, it's these moments built on moments with people, with relationships and communities. And it's just like, it keeps you going down this forward path.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know how much time you spend like reflecting back on this stuff.
Well, I just thought about this all yesterday. I don't really at all. But this is such a great opportunity. So this is really like, it's awesome to be able to talk about this because it's a good. Hopefully, I don't. Yeah, viewers can figure it out, but I mean, there's some interesting stories for sure. And
I think it's like while you're in it, you don't really see what's actually happening.
For sure not.
But then all of a sudden you're like, well, oh yeah. Then I did this for a lot of years, and I was like when you just slid in, I was working in clubs. And then for me, I'm like, oh, that's why he understands club culture because he actually worked like. There's all these little moments that create all the opportunities that you have, which is
and all of them are in Calgary.
Yeah,
because that's where I'm from and that's where I grew up. So Calgary's fostered some great opportunities for me. Like I'm so grateful to have been born here.
Yeah,
like, I really feel very fortunate.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
So in today's kind of your world's changed a lot over the last married and like so that how do you balance it right now between playing live, doing all your audio, the 7 different paths of audio work you do? What's your...
Well, I mean, really at this point, I don't play that much live.
Do you miss it?
Or
Or
I do, although it kind of stressed me out too because I don't play enough to be,
so you think
to have chops. Oh yeah, you got to practice. Musicians practice a lot. Like it's a thing. It's not like, wow, are you ever talented? It's people may think that, but it's a lot of work they put in. So as soon as you kind of when I caught, I mean,
I get it, man.
I'm trying to think of the film director David Cronenberg has a phrase that I heard him give in an interview, and he said he was being interviewed by this young guy who was asking him some questions, and he was being very generous with his answers, and he's ended up coming up with this phrase: "What you're obsessed by, and the degree to which you're obsessed by it, is what gives your life shape." Yeah. So what you're obsessed by, and the degree to which you're obsessed by it, is what gives your life shape. Just to repeat that. And really, I thought about that, and it's really true. So there's been times in my life where playing guitar was like it, and that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I wanted to learn, and so I just went hard at it. Then there's other times when I've looked at other things and to try and do it all like it's so I kind of made some choices and let some things go, but
because the music's intense, right? When you're like on that, not when you're chasing that high, but when you're like all in on music. And again, this is me from a totally different level from you, but when you're all in on it, the highs are amazing, but the lows are like devastating. And it's, I don't know, for people to do it for an entire lifetime, I don't know how that's sustainable. Like you have to change, which is just part of the time, I think.
Yeah, for sure. You have to keep growing with it all, for sure. And that's one partly that, my story is also adapting and kind of how do I stay in the seat that I want to stay in. So, that becomes a big catalyst for a lot of things, I was going to say too, there was a band that I played in actually that's really notable at Cannery Row. So I played at Cannery Row for a few years with the likes of Christian Alexandrov, Christian Alexandrov on keyboards, Ben Harry's on bass, Andy Erickson on drums. Ravi sometimes he'd sit in. Yeah, Andy's always
There's always Andy.
He's around. His name's he's always around for sure. Anyone's lucky to play with Andy on drums for sure.
Special time.
Sheldon Zanbor, my great friend, like amazing world class piano player. He's great. So there was some Jean on percussion. I'm sure I'm forgetting names, but it was awesome, and that was a really good time. So we'd play down there. We have a bunch of different singers that sing with us too. So we'd change singers every week and we'd back up different singers, so they'd always have different entertainment. But the same band was the root of it, and that had been happening years before I ever did it, and happened years after I did it also. But there was a point where I was actually at that level with those people, and that was great. Like that was really
just like, you were there.
Yeah, that was really. Like, again, it was like we're playing to people in a peanut pub, and you didn't even have a cover charge.
They have no idea what they're hearing.
Oh, some of them did. Some of them did every week.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah. I don't even know some of their names, but they were there every week. Some people, because it was just, it was awesome. Yeah.
And to be now going forward, like with your your career that you have doing all these audio pieces. Feels like it's the right spot right now?
Oh, I love it. I feel so lucky. Yeah. I mean, I worked with big brands at Critical Mass. Then I needed a break from that. Then I did theater. And I taught at Mount Royal University. So that was great. And worked with and then I also in there I worked with Alberta Ballet a lot for quite a few years. Worked with a whole bunch of world-class choreographers, which I love dance. I love dancing to music, but at the same time there's also the refined artistic dance that we made to music, and I love that also. So I love all art forms, like I said. So I think
you're in a good spot. Like this is like it's like everything kind of. Like we just talked about, all these different steps and all these different paths have led to this moment now where because you're dangerous what you can do.
Yeah.
You know, like the amount of things you can put your touch on.
Yeah. So I just worked on a project last year called the IPE, which stands for Indigenous Peoples Experience, which is a immersive cultural experience you can have at Fort Edmonton.
Okay.
It won a whole bunch of awards and so on. It's spectacular, and was led by Indigenous leaders and elders. It was super amazing project.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend people go have the experience just because it's great. But at the same time, that was meaningful to me personally.
Yep.
So that's great. Then I'm also working so it seems to me, actually, I'm, without going through all the list of names of things, I'm working with Ben Ivety coming up here, and there's different things, but it's amazing to me how a whole bunch of the different projects that I've been given in the last few years have really resonated with my personal values. So that is an incredible place to arrive at, that it's like everything resonates with me. I'm not just making a car commercial. I'm making something that's...
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's really... It feels good because it feels like maybe what I put out is what I'm receiving. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully. I don't know. I'm not super flaky, but at the same time, I respect the way things work. Mm-hmm. And affect the fact we're even here exchanging energy. This is great. Mm-hmm. So one thing leads to another, and you can kind of...
Isn't it, back this up 20 years ago, mm-hmm. What gets you firing now, like these interesting projects? 20 years ago, they wouldn't have had the same weight to them?
Actually, there's a thing I would say is that... immersive audio, and that's really what I would like to work on more. So if anyone's listening to this,
my name is Dewi Wood. My phone number is
exactly. Give me a gig, please. But immersives, I think for example, touring shows like the Van Gogh expedition. Yep. Lots of projection. Yeah. That's projection mapping and all that stuff is a big thing. We've all seen it now, and hopefully most people have experienced it. It's pretty cool, right? But I've also seen projects that are built in Japan that are really cool. And I also think that the opportunity for immersive sound design in places like that is really what I'd like to work on at this stage. I'll work on all kinds of projects, but that's where my sights are on that. Mm-hmm. And I worked in big brands. I did this, I did that. And then I worked in theater. And there was a point when and theater is amazing too. And the technology there's the applications that have come out for doing sound design for theater installations and projects is super amazing. It kind of harkens back to the early days of interactive sound design that you'd make in Director and Flash and stuff. Remember that? Hey?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Nightmares.
Nightmares. Holy. Where's my manual? But it does. So it's amazing to me. I could never have picked it out. Yeah. I could never have pre-visualized all the different tools that I picked up that now have me really primed and ready to take on this new. Yeah.
It's like,
and Dolby Atmos. I'm getting a new computer in a little bit here, in probably the next few days.
Cool.
So one of these new Macs, spanky doodles, and you can mix in surround, and you can mix in Atmos, Dolby Atmos, which is a more immersive sound mix also. And I'm very excited about using all these tools. So there's still things that really get me excited for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not even close to the end.
No.
But you're like, where you are right now makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's got to feel.
It feels great. Sometimes it's only when you actually get a chance to talk about it like this. Mm-hmm. Like day to day, you're kind of like grinding night, doing whatever, whatever. But it does. Yeah, I've had moments where and this conversation's really helping, but I've had moments where I had glimpses at it's been. I feel really lucky. Yeah, all the time.
The piece about being a creative. Sometimes it can be super lonely.
Oh yeah.
And when you're looking for that, everyone, you're trying to figure out what to do, and you're looking for an example. If there's no examples, you're like, well, fuck, I'm just by myself trying to do this.
Yeah.
And those downtimes are interesting, but when you're jamming like you are right now, things are feeling like they're connecting and they're aligned. I think it's a sweet spot.
Yeah, when you're in the right place, the resistance starts to, it's like I call it like driving to to Chinook Center and only getting green lights. It's like, hang on, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when
Mm-hmm.
you're in the right place at the right time,
Mhm.
it just feels like resistance breaks down and you know, that
Yeah.
feeling. I was going to say another thing, actually, another artistic group that meant a lot to me and still means a lot to me to this day is One Yellow Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was young, I used to go see everything. I used to go see dance shows at the Dancer Studio West. I go see, like, I'd just go by myself,
Mhm.
you know, like I had tons of friends or doing lots of stuff, but I also used to go to
Yep.
see dance shows by myself
take it
because
in.
I loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I don't know how I found my way into One Yellow Rabbit Theater. This is way back in the day when they were all upstairs there in the theater. Anyway, unbelievable. Like, their stuff resonated with me. So creative, such amazing execution. Loved it.
Yep.
So I was very influenced by them. At the same time, when to reflect back to what you were saying is like when you're working by yourself, because there's a lot of me social and whatever,
Mhm.
man about town guy, but there's a lot of time you spend to get good
A
at something.
lot.
You spend a lot of time in your room by yourself,
Mhm.
right? So I'd be in a studio that was just across 10th Street Bridge at 2:00 in the morning, still working on something,
Mhm.
and I'd think, but Michael and Blake or Denise or, you know, and Richard and Andy from One Yellow Rabbit, they're all working on something too. They're all making something cool.
We're going.
And even though I didn't talk to them all the time, they weren't
Yeah.
like, but I gained a lot of, so there's a lot of other artists and different people who can influence
Mhm.
your life in different ways. So I gained comfort from the fact that there was other people in the creative idiom that were making cool stuff too.
Mhm.
Yeah. And making it really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool, man. it's the like you said before. There's to have we don't get a lot of opportunities to actually like
Oh yeah.
look back and think and the cool thing of this is like a little self-serving, but the cool thing about this show is it helps me look back on my life too. Just to look back and see why things happen. And it's such a and now that it sounds like you're in a great spot right now, I'm in a great spot, and it's just it did all the little speed bumps along the way are just like I now understand why, which is this conversation has been really it's been cool, man.
Yeah, excellent.
You and I could talk forever.
Yeah.
I only have so much memory on my cards.
Yeah.
So the way I end these shows is when I say Calgary, where's your head go?
Oh. I wasn't prepared for this question. When you say Calgary, where does my head? My head goes to my house. I have a great house,
Special.
Very special location.
Yep.
And how did I get it? So I was walking to, and the perspective of Calgary that you get from my house is very unique also.
Yeah.
So it's a very precious thing. I'd be walking with my clarinet, my guitar, and my books, and walking to junior high school without a toque on because I didn't want to get my hair, whatever. I'm that guy, junior high.
Man about town.
Yeah. So I walked to school and back, and then in grade 8, there was a girl who started walking the same route because she was going to the same band rehearsals and so on and so on. So we became friends. And we'd walk the same route, and we ended up waiting for each other. And so we walked together every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I'm walking along, and I look up, and I'm like, wow, my friend's really pretty. Like 14 years old, ding, 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 or 15 or whatever.
Fire.
Yeah. And on a band trip, love was born, and, that was it. So that we ended up dating. Her name's Catherine Payne, and we ended up dating for all of junior high school and high school and so on. So that was great. And we're still friends to this very day. But I ended up walking up and down the hill because I grew up in Cambridge Heights. I moved back to the exact district that I should have started there. I moved back to the exact same district that I grew up on. So I grew up like a few blocks away from where I live now. So anyways, I walked up and down this hill like 100 times, so many times, in fact, that I wore a path in the ground that stayed there like 5-7 years after I stopped walking it. Like, because I walk when you're a teenage boy, you've got a lot of motivation to go see your girlfriend.
Totally.
You know, you just
going up the hill.
Got to be there. So there we go. So going back up the hill and down the hill, so on. So anyways, that house that I was walking up to all those time is the house that I live in now. So that's the house that I bought from Catherine's mom, and it's a precious location, and it's perched in just near Confederation Park there. But it's I have a vantage point where I can see from the deck. I can see Airdrie to the north. I can see the east. I can see the sun come over the horizon in East Calgary almost every day of the year, except for these longest days. I can see downtown, the mountain range, all the way around to the ski jump. So you get about a 320-degree view from our deck, and there's parkland in front of us and beside us. So it's a really amazing vantage point, and it's a really precious thing. And I feel very fortunate that Catherine's mother, Alice Payne, is the woman. She was a senior geologist at Gulf, and she was a recipient of the Order of Canada. So she's the person who, I'm sure a lot, she could have sold her house to a lot of people, but she sold it to me. So that was a real gift. And now I live there with my wife, Serena.
Yeah. And it goes back to our conversation, just all these little moments that you've had. Yeah. And they're almost like the story. It's a crazy story, but everything you've done and built is just like there's so much depth to why it actually happened. And when you say the house, people are like, "What do you mean?" And I kind of knew that it's.
I mean, Calgary really, I just wanted to tell that story, but that's what popped in my head. But Calgary, really, to me, my mind fragments into a million different stories, and people, and I think I've been so lucky to have had so many points of contact with so many amazing people here, and worked with great entrepreneurs. Like, I've had glimpses at that and all kinds of things. Like, we've made stuff that's gone out into the world, from this city. Yeah. And some things I've been fortunate enough to work on myself, and if anyone's not from Calgary and is listening to this and they think they know Calgary, then give me a call, and come see it with me. Come see my version of Calgary or Jeff's version of Calgary. And really, it's there's a lot of good people here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's got good values for sure. Yeah,
I agree, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, brother.
I've been chasing you for this to get on the show for a while, so I'm glad your schedule could make it work. So
and I really appreciate the fact that there's a repository for Calgary stories. I watched a bunch of these. I've watched some at the beginning, but now I just watched a bunch just leading up to this. Yeah. And what a great gift you're giving to the city.
Thanks, man.
I think it's fantastic to have a repository for stories of people's experiences here and tons of different perspectives. And I wish you super well, of course, as I always do. And thank you very much for the opportunity once again.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.